All right, so a little bit on the big beautiful bill, as Trump calls it, that has just passed Congress by a very narrow margin, but it passed, right? And now it has to go to the Senate. So actually, it's too early to be talking about this because it hasn't passed yet. It's only passed the House. That doesn't really do anything, right? That just shows that the intentions of some of the people in Congress are good. It doesn't show anything about what the Senate is going to do. And I hope it passes because it's one of the few bills I've ever seen in my life or heard about that actually gives good tax breaks to the working class. So no tax on overtime, no tax on tips. That's pretty awesome. As far as I know, there haven't been great tax reductions like that for the working class people in America in a long, long time. I have to be honest. I asked my parents, right? And my dad's 81 and my mom is, I would say, then she's 15 years younger. So 69. All right. No. Holy shit. My math is fucked up. Anyway, you do the math. Doesn't matter. So she's 15 years younger. They've lived in the States all their lives pretty much. I asked them both if they can recall anything about that the government has ever done that has greatly benefited their lives as individual citizens of the United States. And that's just in the United States. We lived in a lot of countries, but I asked about the United States. And the only thing that my dad could come up with was that they stopped the draft, which is a good thing. And that greatly benefited a lot of people's lives, for sure. But that's it. In 80 fucking years, that's all you got. So that's pretty bad. So actually, this bill is pretty awesome. You know, just the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime is fucking awesome, right? You gotta say that's pretty good. So I hope just for that reason that it passes. Now, it's pretty big, right? There's a lot of stuff in there, and I haven't read the whole bill. You know what I mean? And I don't know who has. Probably even the Congress people didn't read the whole bill, and that's part of the problem with these giant bills with thousands of pages long that entail all kinds of crazy stuff. They should just do one issue bills, right? Now I get in this case, they want to do a bunch of stuff at once to get it through. I get it. That's the way the game is played, but the way the game is played needs to change. Right now, however, that's still the way the game is played. So what choice do we have but to go with it? Are there things in there that are not so good? I don't know. I looked around, I searched for keywords, I asked Grok. I haven't heard anybody online really complain about it too much, so it seems like it's all right. There are a couple things that people are bitching about, and I'll get into that in just a second. I just wanted to tell you, it's Tuesday. No, sorry, is it Tuesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday. Tuesday, the 27th of May, 2025. And it's now about almost 2 p.m. here in Germany. This is the Insanity Report for today, where we're going to talk about something not so insane, which is this big, beautiful bill. That's actually a common sense thing. So there's the things people are complaining about are, well, it's going to ratchet up the deficit. It's going to make the deficit even bigger. Yeah, that's probably true, but that would happen regardless of this bill, right? We know the government, doesn't matter if Trump is in there or anybody else, it doesn't matter. The government is an entity that cannot manage money, right? They can't manage money. They don't know how to save money. Now, Trump is at least making an attempt to save money, whether it be through tariffs or cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, which I'm not sure where that's gone right now. I haven't heard much from Doge. I don't see much more about more firings or spending cuts. I really don't. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, we were promised that the Pentagon would also be audited and there would be major cutbacks there as well. But it just looks like there's even more money going into it. So I get it. They want to build a golden dome, right? Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. If Israel has a dome that protects the country from incoming missiles, I think America definitely should have one, right? I think we should all have one. I think we should all have a dome. If they were to ask us, if the people of the countries that are supposedly democratic and free and all that, right? If those people were asked every time money was spent, and one of the questions was, would you want to, we know we were going to cut spending on them on defense and on military, but would you want to spend some extra money on this golden dome? most people will probably be like, yeah, okay, the Golden Dome, yeah, I get it. Yeah, we should do that, right? In no government are we ever going to see everything that ails us getting fixed all at once with money. And it all gets fixed right away with one big package of stuff. So infrastructure, the taxes, the whole thing, everything, Medicare, healthcare, everything. That's never going to happen because the countries are all broke, right? They should have done that a long time ago. They shouldn't have let it get this far, right? But again, the reason it's gotten this far is a lot our fault. You know what I'm saying? Our fault as citizens for not paying attention, voting for the wrong people, not paying attention to what's happening with the money, and just kind of being apathetic. Like, they got this, these politicians, they got it. So let's let them take care of it. And that's what got us in this big clusterfuck to begin with. So hopefully this is a lesson to all that in the future, people are going to have to start paying much more attention. And it looks like they are. You know what I'm saying? You see the social media, you see on X and on Twitter and all that. There's very much political discourse. People are very much tuned into what the government officials are actually doing. And in this case, I would say that more spending on defense due to the Golden Dome thing and the threats around the world, I get it. All right? I get it. You want to be America and you want to be like isolationist a little bit more. You don't want to be involved in all the wars and all the other people's conflicts and other people's bullshit. But you do want to have still the strongest military in the world in case you ever need to pull out the big guns, right? I get that. And I don't really see any government not doing that, right? They're always going to put money in defense like they should. I think that's one of the good things that money should go to. That's one of the only things government is actually there for, right? Infrastructure, defense, and making sure people's property rights are taken care of. That's pretty much all they have to do. The people have let them, and they have interjected them in all sorts of facets of life that they shouldn't be involved in, right? But they're involved, right? So we need to get them out of that a little bit more, and then also more money will be saved in the future. If there's less government agencies, government departments, government things, the government needs to be shrunk, right? It needs to be shrunk. And then you're going to start saving money. Until the government is shrunk, there's not going to be any saving money. So if there's not going to be any saving money anyway, it might as well be that the people get something out of it for once. So I am for this bill, right? Now I looked up because the Republicans have a hand in, for some reason, suddenly calling everything anti-Semitism, making all kinds of crazy laws about anti-Semitism, going after free speech when it comes to Israel, going after visas when it comes to students against Israel. That's pretty crazy. Now, I don't know the intricacies of every single one of these cases, so I'm not going to comment on those, but it seems pretty wild that the Republicans and the conservatives in general are blindly supporting and also changing their own, trying to change their own constitution in order to appease the will of Israel, which is what it seems like is happening. Now, if anybody's got a better explanation for the crackdown on free speech about Israel and stuff like that, then let me know. You know what I mean? Let me know. Tell me about it. I haven't heard one, right? And it, just looking at it, it looks like conservatives and Republicans are cracking down on people that are criticizing Israel and labeling everybody who does so an anti-Semite. That's what it's looking like. I was a little worried that in this bill, there was going to be some more speech attacks or freedom of speech attacks or restrictions of rights when it comes to people who are not about Israel, right? But, I looked for keywords. I couldn't find really anything, not at first glance. So I don't know, right? Is there something hidden in this bill that shouldn't be in it? I don't know. There almost always is, right? There almost always is. But seeing how none of the Democrats voted for it, I think almost none. There probably isn't anything in there for them, right? Otherwise, there might be some more votes on that bill from the Democrat side. So it's looking like it's pretty solid. It's looking like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, the Golden Dome thing. What else was there? There's a couple different things, right? There's a couple different things that are really good that I would say at first glance, awesome, let's do it. Now, there are cuts to spending in certain departments. I don't know how that's going to have a long-term effect on those things like Medicare, Medicaid. The critics are saying, oh, there's going to be major cuts there. I don't know. Should we not do any of it in order to make sure that there's no cuts in the wrong places a little bit, that they can't change in the future? I don't know. It's hard to say. That's why the whole system is so fucked up, right? That's why the whole system is so crazy with these 1,000-page bills with 100 things in them. I am not a fan of that. But seeing as how that's how they're doing it, and, in order to change that, we're going to need different people there, right? We're going to need to vote in different people who are willing to cut the fat within their own deal, right? So to do their job as it was actually planned, right? So you vote on every issue. You don't pack bills full of bunch of shit, bunch of pork. You don't do it like that. That's not the way it was intended to work. But in order to get the system to work as it was intended to work, the people are going to have to make better choices to who they put in there. Right now, we've got the people we got in there. Trump is doing pretty much an amazing job. I would say 80% good, 20% not so great, right? The accountability thing, I keep harping on that. I get it. Accountability thing is not looking great. It doesn't look like we're going to get much accountability anytime soon. For the last 10 years, that would be very bad. That would very much dampen my feelings about the Trump administration. But okay, we're only 4 months in. Let's see what happens. I'm still on their side because they're doing, in the end, more good than bad, right? And it just seems unrealistic to me to have a perfect government. It's just doesn't exist, right? Especially not one that's the size of the U.S. government, right? If the U.S. government was tapered down and left to do its bare minimum function, then you would have maybe people in there that wouldn't, that would be more willing to, work the way the system was intended, right? And maybe then you would have a more perfect guidance of the money and of the way things are going to go, because there's only a few people, a few departments that are deciding these things. That makes it a lot easier. This government is bloated way out of proportion. We all know that. And that needs to change, right? That needs to change. But do you just not do anything and not be happy about any wins because the system hasn't changed yet? That's what Trump is basically trying to do, right? He's trying to shrink the size of the government, make it more, make it more productive, I would say, right? Make it more productive, streamline it a little bit. And he's trying to do that. And what we're going to need is people like Trump that are willing to do the same thing, follow that same course after he's gone. Otherwise, nothing's ever going to really change, right? If we go right back to the way that it was during Biden, when Trump leaves, then it's pretty much fucked. You know what I'm saying? Then you're pretty much essed out. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Pretty much asked out. There's no fucking way to change it then, because if you don't have the people in there that are willing to make their changes, it's never going to change. So a lot of people from Congress, a lot of people from government need to be removed, right? Absolutely. There's going to be midterms soon. Hopefully the people make good choices, right? And get rid of these rhino motherfuckers that really don't want to do their job, that just want to sit there and benefit themselves. That would be better to just get rid of them, right? It would be better to get rid of them. Anybody that's standing in the way of the major Trump agenda, trying to play games behind his back, those should be removed. Vote them out, right? People that are not for stopping the insider trading in Congress, they should be voted out. You need people in there who want to stop that, because it's corruption, right? And you want the people who want to stop corruption. That's pretty simple, right? That's pretty easy. That's pretty simple. So anyway, what to do about this bill? It doesn't sound like there's very many bad things in it. Of course, by the time that it gets voted on in the Senate, there might be changes made. Things will be kind of switched around. We do need to take a look at the final product here. That's the most important, right? The final product, that's what we have to look at. And we won't see the final product unless it passes the Senate. And if it doesn't, then that's pretty disheartening, because it shows that all of the people that vote against it in the Senate, if they do, they don't want any benefits for the middle class, working class American people. They want to continue the status quo of just pissing away money on NGOs, foreign aid, wars, bullshit, everything else except for the people that deserve it most, right? which are the working class American people. They're the ones keeping the system alive. They're the ones that deserve some benefits. So if we're going to have to take a couple of things we don't like on this bill in order to benefit that group of people, then I'll take it, depending on what the thing I don't like is, you know what I mean? But right now, I can't find much that I don't like about this bill. I hope it passes. Let's see what happens. Usually in government, when there is a bill or it is a vote about something that will greatly benefit the citizens, it just somehow never goes through. Only the ones that benefit the oligarchs, the corporations, the other countries, Zelensky, you name it. Only those seem to go through. So it's going to be fucking amazing if it goes through. I hope it does. We'll find out. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it today to kind of give you an idea of where I'm at on the bill. I know it's a little bit mixed up. It's like I'm kind of back and forth on the bill. I get it, and there's not much I can do about that because the fact is there are positive and negatives to everything. There are no solutions, only trade-offs. Awesome quote. Very true. So there's always going to be some trade-offs to get what you want, especially in government, even with Trump. That's what you got to count on. That's the deal. So let's hope it passes. Let's hope they don't sneak in any craziness, and then should be good to go. Peace out.